Well, first of all, Venerable Children gave the most unbelievable teaching on the two methods of generating bodhicitta in our tradition. That was just stunning. But we didn't get to, well, how do we actually practice the Bodhisattva path here at the Abbey? So I've had some thoughts from my experience here. First of all, I want to rejoice at the Dharma Drum Mountain's capacity to be able to share the Dharma. All the ways in which you practice the Bodhisattva deeds, I think, is beyond remarkable. How you touch and benefit so many sentient beings. I find it extraordinary. And because the ground in Taiwan has been fertilized by the Buddha Dharma for centuries, you can actually, as an analogy, broadcast the Dharma in fairly large swaths with a fairly good chance of being able to land on some fertile ground. And that's the beauty of having the Buddha Dharma in your culture, in your bones, so to speak, for the past number of centuries. And that the Dharma has landed on this beautiful soil, and that it will grow these beautiful trees that will bear fruit in the minds of sentient beings in the future. I think it's really remarkable. Now, in America, we have a very different situation. So practicing the Bodhisattva deeds requires a little bit of a different approach. This is the Wild West. We've had the Buddha Dharma in our country maybe 100 years, maybe, and practicing well maybe in the past 50 or 60 years. And the Abbey's mission statement, one of the statements we have, and I couldn't track it down perfectly, but it is to plant the Dharma deeply, its roots deeply in Western soil. So what does that take for us in such a country that doesn't have any Buddhist framework, has no Buddhist context, has no Buddhism in its bones yet? The ground hasn't really been tilled, except in small places in America. It's a little dusty, it's a little hard, it doesn't have a lot of good arable soil yet for the seeds of the Dharma. And when we put the Dharma out there, they're just a few seeds at a time, maybe a small handful here and there. And we really don't know how it's going to land. We don't know what the fertility of the soil is actually like. And that, especially in rural America, we happen to live in a very conservative Christian community here and the surrounding areas, so we're never quite sure. But one of the things that's so amazing is that the Bodhisattva deeds can hold this situation. And when Venerable moved here in 2003, I think it took her less than a year to get herself into the Newport County Library and to be able to share the Dharma without saying anything Dharma. She was in the library down in town. I think 6 people showed up. She did it for a few weeks there until she went to a little place called Create, which is an art center, which she happened to be able to, there was a crowd that slowly built up to about 15, maybe 20 people over a course of a few years. That's where we met Venerable Deki. So that's one of the seeds of the Dharma that was planted on very fertile soil came in the form of Venerable Deki. So we've got our beautiful Bhikshuni because she came to that place to investigate who was Venerable Chodron and what was this about. But we can't, she has found some incredible common ground. We can't put flyers out there that talk about rebirth and karma, the disadvantages of samsara, emptiness. So how to share the Buddha's teachings without actually explicitly saying that these are the Buddha's teachings. But what we have found, what she has really done and focused her skillful means and has slowly trained all of us to be able to do, considering the circumstances, not on the website. The website we can broadcast, our broadcasting the Dharma is huge. But in this area in particular, the skillful means that she has really used to bring the Dharma alive in people's minds. And she uses it through the teachings on love, on compassion. I mean, who anybody doesn't want to how to deal with our anger, how to have harmony in relationships, how to be able to have forgiveness for someone who has hurt us very badly. These are the kind of when we were sending flyers out, even up to now. She goes to the colleges. It's like how to have harmony with your children. Is technology really taking us to where we want to go as far as cultivating our good qualities? I mean, she really puts the Buddha's teachings in a context that anybody who has a spiritual yearning, anybody who has a curiosity, would be able to tap into some of these fundamental teachings of the Buddha without it having to be explicitly Dharma. And then the other thing that she has really helped this community in the past 20 years is that when we first got here, it was just Venerable Tarpa and I don't know if I was an anagark even. She said, when you go into town, be kind, be respectful. Don't blare out that you're a Buddhist up on the hill. Just by the way in which you talk and walk and exchange and have communication and relationship with them, be kind, be respectful, be grateful, appreciative. And we've done this consistently for 20 years. And then also we have gotten engaged in a lot of interfaith. We have members of this community that do prison outreach. There's a medium security prison about an hour and a half from here. And a number of our monastics, especially Venerable Nawang and Venerable Jigme, go to that prison and share the Dharma with men who really want to learn. They have this incredible hunger to learn what compassion is, how to work with forgiveness, how to work with their minds in an environment that is just so antithetical to being able to cultivate those kind of qualities. We do social environmental justice outreach. We had a silicon smelter they were going to build in this town, and we stepped in with the entire Newport community and went to public hearings. We did personal testimonies. We made huge amounts of prayers. We got really into the grassroots of trying to keep this environmentally toxic operation from coming to this town, and we succeeded. There is no smelter. It went all the way to the other side of the country. So the environment here stays, for the most part, pristine, and there isn't this toxic environment. And trying to see that was just a facade for all the promises they made for employment and good jobs and lower utilities. It was just a facade. It was going to poison our community here. So we got involved in that. We've been with people who have died, or with grieving families who have died that have not been Buddhist, to come and be with them, to be able to hold the space for them as they're witnessing the death of their loved ones. And then as Venerable, once again, she gets requests from all over the world. Europe, Asia, Mexico, Australia, that over the course of time, watching her model how to do this, then some of the seniors in the community started to be able to do meditation courses, to be able to do similar kind of, sharings that in the beginning we tried to do Buddhism, but we got into rebirth and we got into karma. Things kind of went off the rails a little bit. So we kind of brought it back into more general topics of the Buddhist teachings. But when it comes to the Abbey here, this is where Dharma is front and center. We don't have to coach it in any type of terms but the Dharma terms. I mean, it's very explicit. It's very out there. Venerable talks, we talk about everything. And the people who come here know that that's the expectation. And so we've got the local rural community that's getting acquainted with us. They now know. They know where the Abbey is. When they see us in town, there's a warm-heartedness, there's a kindness, there's a reciprocity, because we've been kindly inhabiting their county for so many years that there's a trust, there's a mutuality now. And so that has been very much the way in which the Dharma is getting planted with these little tiny seeds we don't know how they're going to germinate, what they're going to bring about. They certainly have helped our relationship with the rural area around us, the ranchers, the loggers, the hunters. You know, they know that this is a wildlife sanctuary, and if they cross the trails, we kindly escort them to their trucks and say, "Not here." And so just to know that, Bodhisattva practice in the West has got a very different learning curve. I aspire and I will rejoice at the time when this country has a few centuries of the Buddha Dharma under their belts. But already the flourishing of the monastic community is really helping as far as being able to plant those seeds. Each one of us is learning the Dharma in our hearts and minds. So when we go out, we know how to model that. We know how to embody that. And so as time has gone on, the past 20 years, our connectedness to a lot of different groups of people. We have established relationships with colleges, with nonprofits, with different religions, with the county, with the health department, with the electricity, the utility company, the guys who plow the roads. It's all about kindness. It's all about depending upon them and being the beneficiary. And they know that we understand that. When the time came and we had a fire down the road last year, the sheriff came up here and said, "Folks, we care about you. You got to go. We don't want you stuck here. You're on a dead-end road. Please leave. We care about you." And this is coming from a very conservative Christian county that just really has a heart open to us. So this is how the skillful means of our dear teacher, who'd learned that from His Holiness, who is one of the most skillful beings in our world, to be able to make that interface between Buddhists and non-Buddhists, people of all different persuasions. And so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And as this community grows, we learn how to engage in the Bodhisattva practices, not just for the short-term goal, we're planting the seeds, but someday to be able to have the roots of the Dharma deeply planted in the West. And a flourishing monastic community is so much a part of that, to create peace in a chaotic world as we have on our mission statement. So I just wanted to share with you, and I just rejoice that we can do both of these things in the world, and that they benefit sentient beings at different levels and in different ways. And that's the beauty of the Dharma. And so I really want to, say that we're heading in the same direction as you. We're just a few centuries behind you, but we're catching up. So thank you for your wisdom and how to be able to do this in a proper way.